Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir Lazouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today we wanted to follow up on what's happening actually at the EU Commission, because after many maybe discussions, they finally made a proposal to postpone the IVDR or postpone the date of application, or maybe we will see that just after, because I don't know if it's really a postponement. And we will discuss with Erik Vollebregt, who is already shaking his hand, his head to say maybe no. So it's why I was careful just to say the word postponement because of that. So Erik, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Thanks for having me on here, and sorry about the mess in my home office.
No problem. So Erik, as I've said, so we had a surprise last week, and there was my phone was popping up with a lot of messages saying IVDR is postponed, IVDR is postponed. Where IVDR is postponed, it was like they were winning a game. So, but after reading the thing, is that there is no IVDR postponed, so there was some kind of proposal. But before to arrive just to this section of the news, if I can say, what was the situation now on IVD products manufacturers? Because the situation was not good, if I can say so. Before we go to what is proposed now.
Yeah, I think if you say not good, that would be you would earn the prize for euphemism of the day. I think if you would say it's really bad, it would be closer. Because I remember back in 2018, Dario Pirovano of Medtech Europe was saying at a conference like, hey, for IVDs, we will need a 780, so that's 780% in notified body capacity increase. And before that, we already had the, that also more or less became a meme, the BSI Quantum Leap meme. I don't know if you've seen that, but with the two bars that were inverted, right? On first you had like 10%, 90%, and that went like to 90%, 10%, exactly. Notified body. I remember Sabina Osha at the time being with BSI presenting that. And basically then already we knew that we would end up here. And BSI was already saying this in 2017 when the IVDR entered into force. So basically where we are now is that we are in a situation where also the Commission and the member states have stopped doing la 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 la, sort of opened up their ears and decided like, okay, this is maybe the rest of the world was sort of right in saying that this was a complete disaster in the making. We should do something. Now, and then this proposal came. So what are they trying to do in this proposal? They are trying to manage a couple of things.
Okay.
First of all, of course, there's an enormous backlog as a result of COVID.
Okay.
That resulted, among other things, in not enough notified bodies and not enough notified body capacity, because it's always a difficult discussion. You can say there's not enough notified bodies, but the number of notified bodies isn't that interesting. The capacity that a notified body represents, that is interesting. But still, if you look at capacity, there's also not enough notified bodies, only 6 at the moment, with not enough capacity to account for this 90% of the market that needs to turn around a self-certification into an IVDR certificate. So this is where we are, and now they finally decided, okay, we should do something. The Commission had also already issued the joint implementation plan earlier this year, which was basically, you could say, the more dramatic version of the MDR joint implementation plan that we had seen the year before. And basically they've decided, okay, this can't wait any longer. Also because and that is something I've been telling clients for quite a long time, is if you calculate back from the date of application, 26 May 2022, A typical conformity assessment procedure under the IVDR takes about a year because everybody needs to get experience with that. So if you did not have a conformity assessment application in the works, in the door, at a notified body that's already notified by May this year, so basically, if you take your Back to the Future DeLorean and then drive back a couple of months, if you are not well on your way with this with a conformity assessment application, you won't make it anymore. And this is basically the place where nobody is. And that's also what they try to represent in the proposal. They've got this nice table. Where they basically paint a picture that if I had any hair left, it would sort of stand up straight by reading it. Because, for the people that are curious, I lost a bet with my hairdresser. So
I was asking the same when I saw Erik for the first time.
So that's where this is coming from. And then they decided, okay, we are going to do something. Now, industry was always saying like, we need a delay, we need a delay, we need a delay. Because that's sort of the game that they learned with the MDR was going to help. But I knew from the inside that it was pretty clear that a delay was not on the table. Also because basically a whole delay wasn't going to help very much. So what they decided to do is basically do a mix of the corrigendum that they did for the MDR in 2019. So basically do something for unclassified devices. But they also decided if we move everything to 2024, like they did with the corrigendum of the MDR, so the Commission learned a bit there, then you will have this total clusterfuck, sorry for the word, at the end with all these
manufacturers that comes
at the same time. So everybody needing, all these legacy devices needing new certificates. So they decided, okay, you know what we're going to do? We are going to basically do this. We are going to do a phased legacy devices system, basically.
So, when we say that this process that they are doing or they are mentioning is mainly, as we said, to help first the notified bodies to have everybody, if I can say, under control. This doesn't solve apparently for now the number of notified bodies that are available. So it's not like something that will increase the capacity. So is this? I mean, maybe the first question that I want to ask you, maybe is we talked about MDR. We said about the fact that MDR also had the same situation. We had postponement. Here, we ask for this postponement like 8 months or before, if I can say, the date of application, or 6 months before, 7 months before the date of application. So when before MDR, it was like 1 month before. So did they saw really that this urgency was important also for the manufacturer so that they can be prepared, or it was like something like where they see that there is no control at all now, and it's why we have really to provide some rules now so the market is reassured also?
Yeah, I think a lot of these things at the same time. First of all, with the MDR, of course, they did an extremely quick legislative procedure, which basically meant that it was a kind of pre-pack procedure where everybody had already agreed ahead on everything. And the European Parliament basically had to sign on the dotted line. And I remember at the time that there were voices from the European Parliament that they weren't very happy with that, and that they want, if anything like this happened again with the delay for the IVDR, obviously, they wanted more time to look at it. So this is one of the reasons probably why they also decided to take more time with this procedure. And even though there was a letter from the European Parliament signed by Peter Liese, among others, the rapporteur at the time for the IVDR, that letter only says we need a delay. It doesn't specify anything. So that means that I would assume that also the European Parliament wants to take a look at this proposal, whether it will really work for them as well. And for that reason, they're just going to need more time, I think. But even then, there's very little time. I mean, with the MDR, we've seen that you can do it in about 2.5 months, which nobody wants this time. But on the other hand, they will also need to complete the procedure in time for 26 May. So that gives them, theoretically, you could say, if they are aiming at, publication on 5 May, that would be the very last moment they could actually do it. Then you can count back to now, and then it's basically, 7 months or something, slightly more. So, anywhere between 7.5 months and 2.5 months, I think, is realistic to expect something to happen. If, of course, I mean, it is a legislative proposal. If this proposal is actually going to mature to legislative change.
So here, as we said, we expect, if I can say, to have the answer by May, or what is the expectation now?
Probably earlier. I mean, if they're a bit clever, then they're not going to aim at the very last. I've seen estimates saying it'll be done in about 4 months.
Okay.
Possible. I think that's probably a bit more realistic, but the theoretical bandwidth for this to become law is publication beginning of May, so then we would actually know it, and then another 20 days for the proposal to enter into force. But it's likely that by let's say end of the first quarter next year, it should be clear where this is going.
Okay. So in terms of the products that, I mean, as we said also many times ago, so we have a complete change of this regulation, I mean, between IVDD and IVDR, which makes it like 90% of the products that were self-certified before under IVDD will become classified under IVDR and need a notified body, which is really a huge number because there is a lot of products like that. You've said that there is kind of waves, if I can say, in terms of the IVDR execution. So what are the different dates for each type of product? So do we have a date per products, per classification, per category? What is exactly the rules that they propose? Because it's a proposal, let's say, again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you asked, because I've been doing a little bit of doodling before this session. I will make a PDF of this, so you can put it in the show notes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But so basically, what you can see is that I don't know if
I see class A, B, C, D, and with the different.
So maybe it's better to do it this way.
Yeah, for the people that are not seeing that on the
this
screen.
way it's bigger.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah.
Damn it! So hard to do it in.
Make it as PDF, and people will maybe see then after with the PDF.
I would be a terrible weatherman. Anyways, but there are. What I've done is I've made horizontal bars for the classes of products.
Yeah.
And I've made a vertical timeline. So the first thing that you see what they do is that you've got the IVDs that already have a CE certificate.
Okay. So the 10% that were IVDD already.
Exactly. These ones, that's why I also put here 4 little asterisks for the notified body number. And what they've done for those, so these are subject to Article 110, Section 2. What they've done for those is they said, hey, you know what? You had a grace period of 2 years, because this is very important. The date of application doesn't change.
Okay.
The date of application of the IVDR remains the same, but they've moved a bit in the backward dates. So for the devices that already have a CE certificate, they said, you know what? We are going to give you 1 year of additional grace period. So rather than 26 May 2024, you get another year. So 3 years, just like we had for the MDR.
Okay.
And after that, the green arrow, you have to be IVDR compliant. So you need an IVDR CE mark. Then there are the Class D devices. Class D devices, and that's the article
Highest class, yeah.
110 section 3 situations. So that's blood-borne diseases tests and so on. These guys become legacy devices. And these legacy devices can be legacy devices, so can continue under the IVDD, provided that they, just like in the MDR, they already implement certain quality system parts of the MDR, like post-market surveillance, economic operator registration, vigilance reporting, these things, until 26 May 2025. And after that, it's green arrow IVDR, also under the condition that they don't undergo a significant change.
Yeah, so same as the rule for MDR. So if you are on the transition period, any significant change makes you fall under the IVDR now.
That's very important, because if you change something in your assay, what we don't know what a significant change under the IVDR will be, because we've got MDCG guidance that says significant change under the MDD is this. So there's a lot you can actually glean from that. What we don't know, for example, is, let's say you change something in your assay in the chemical composition. Is that a significant change? I would say probably yes, but so we also need additional significant change guidance for the IVDR.
So MDCG guidance is waiting then.
Exactly. Class C, they are saying, okay, Class C, same thing. But Class C is legacy until 26 May 2026. And then there are two classes that are legacy until 26 May 2027. That's Class B and sterile Class A devices. And then, of course, this is a problem. The normal Class A devices, nothing. So IVDR applies fully to the normal Class A devices. So let's say I have a mass spectrometer, which is not sterile, but it's a Class A device because it's a lab instrument. That you are in Class A from the very beginning.
So from 26th of May, it's the same as for MDR. For 26th of May 2022, like Class 1, the Class A devices have to apply IVDR immediately. So there is no change. But we suppose that this number will be really low of the number of products that are really Class A, because as we said, it's completely invert now.
Minority of products. And then, of course, that also invites another important question, because I was saying Class D, Class B, Class A, Class, and so on. But this is something that companies, IVD companies, have already got to start with, because they have to classify their product now. Because if they don't classify their product, they don't know how long it's going to be a legacy product.
Yeah, because remember that with IVDD, it was list 1, list 2, or general thing. So it's not really the same classification at all. So yeah, you have really to do this exercise to use the rules that are now defined under IVDR for that, which is the same way that we are doing under MDR. But as I've told you, it's a complete change for the IVD companies, because they were not used to do that before. In-house produced devices. So as I've said, maybe just before we record that, so this maybe deserves a full podcast episode, but maybe just as an introduction, what is those in-house produced devices from IVD, and what are the concerns related to that?
Yeah, so the in-house produced devices, I think we should do another episode about that, because it's a complex subject. Basically, this concerns what Americans would call LDTs, lab-developed tests, which we are not allowed to call LDTs in Europe, because we have another concept for that and other criteria as well. We have in-house produced devices, which exist both under the MDR and the IVDR. And for many hospitals, for example, they develop their own tests that they can't buy in the market, for example. So let's say you've got a very novel COVID mutation, for example, I don't know, the epsilon variant or something like that. or the Theta variant that there are no commercial assays for it yet, but you develop one and you are going to use it clinically, that would typically fall under this provision. Now, there is a regime in this in the proposal for amendment, because the hospitals and labs have done a very successful lobby in Brussels to show that basically, the labs and the hospital labs were just not ready for full application of Article 5, Section 5. So they were lobbying for all kinds of things, and in the end, what's in the proposal, that's what the Commission is apparently prepared to give. So also for them, it's not a delay. Very important. What happens is that the proposal delays certain parts of Article 5, Section 5. So, for example, the need to have a full quality system, the need to have an ISO 15189 accredited lab, which apparently a lot of these labs are still not, and things like that. But on the other hand, it also doesn't delay other things. Like, for example, what the proposal does not do is, for example, delay the obligation to have an Annex 1 file for your in-house produced device as of the date of application. Okay. So what I've seen in the Netherlands, at least, is that one of the things that these hospital labs had a lot of difficulties with is building these technical documentation, basically, for their in-house produced devices in time. And that obligation has not gone away.
So does it mean that like consultants like me should now chase some hospitals to help them to do that job, or what's? I mean, they have to do the same as the manufacturer. They have to build some kind of documentation the same.
You could do that, but they wouldn't have any money to pay you for your work.
Yeah, I know.
Which is kind of sad, because that is invariably the problem that I see with hospital labs, is that they get a lot of extra homework, but they don't get additional budget to do the work. And of course, they can't find any IVDR schooled regulatory people, because there aren't any.
Yeah.
I remember Basil Accra making a really funny joke when the expert panels for the MDR needed to be populated. It was like, where will they find these people? Are they all hiding on the dark side of the moon? Exactly. Will they clone them from aliens? And that's the same problem with the IVDR, that there's just not enough people to make this whole thing work. And that's also propagates all the way down to the hospital labs, unfortunately.
So yeah,
but let's talk about that more in a different episode.
Exactly.
There's so much you can say about it.
Let's explain better, if I can say, this process, because I think that, as we said, there is really it's really complicated, and for hospitals, I think it will be a challenge in future. So let's have that in another episode. My next question is mainly about. So we know that we have some Brexit and Swixit, etc. So, and we know that there was a lot of copy of those, the MDR or the MDD or the CE, if I can say, within those countries. Does this proposal kind of change or impact the UK or Switzerland related to their regulation or their legislation? Because, as I said, they are trying to copy a bit what we are doing here in Europe. Yeah. So is there already some kind of discussion about these changes?
Well, I know that I've heard that from contacts in the UK that basically they are thinking about mirroring this phase-in, because they have no choice. I mean, the UK is on the outside, so they can't produce all their own IVDs. So since they're close to Europe, they basically have no choice. And I haven't heard anything from Switzerland, but I think Switzerland is always closer to the EU with their legislation anyway. I mean, we just before the recording started, we were joking about how they made these direct links from the medical device ordinance into the MDR, and I would be amazed if they wouldn't just copy this phase-in mechanism.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, let's see what they will be doing. I mean, as you said, we heard that since last week, so it's not like something that maybe will be
I'm pretty
in
sure
progress.
they are already drafting an amendment to
Exactly.
the medical device ordinance that will enter into force on the same date that this proposal enters into force, if it makes it.
And remember also that in the UK there is actually this a consultation on the new regulation for UK market. So maybe this was also the good time for the change. So just to build the new regulation. So yeah, we'll hear more about that. So Erik, now we covered, if I can say, all the situation about this IVDR. Now that people heard about it, what should they do now? I mean, is there some kind of action plan? Like we say, what is your scenario? What's the scenario that you would propose to them?
Well, yeah, it's basically, well, first of all, from a risk management perspective, this is a legislative proposal, right? So theoretically, everything can still happen. If the proposal might not make it, and if the proposal doesn't make it, then yeah, we're back to the way the IVDR is. Proposal may make it, but significantly amend it. So, I mean, we've seen what they did to the MDR and the IVDR on the way in the legislative process, and they took their sweet time to do it. There's not so much time now, but still, you could still have amendments. Now, that could be an excuse to say, for example, I'm going to just sit on my hands, right? I'm going to do the
yeah, don't sit on your hand, but do the
sit on your hands. No, definitely not. If your management want to sit on their hands, then teach them this don't sit on your hands Macarena sequence, so they get some biofeedback on that. It's a bad idea. Because one way or the other, the date of application is moving towards you, and you need to engage with the date of application. So there's several things you need to do for that. So first of all, as we just mentioned when we were discussing classification, you need to classify your IVD to know in which group of the phase-in or legacy devices you are. It's also very important that you start planning if you are going to be a legacy device, for example, because you can't go to IVDR as quickly as you want, which I still recommend because we've seen with the MDR that it's going to be a complete mess at the end with this huge pileup of devices that needs to go into the MDR.
Yeah.
So go into the IVDR earlier rather than later. But it also means that you need to do several things. You need to plan a slot with your notified body. You need to have your technical documentation and your quality system ready. And also, and that's something that I see with quite a lot of IVDs, is that they don't have sufficient clinical performance data. So if you look at the data that you need under the IVDR, there's a new category, right? There's analytical data and scientific data, but you also need clinical performance data now. This is a category that a lot of IVDs never have gone after, so they still need to get that data. And that will take time. So, and usually these IVDs have never been subject to proper post-market performance follow-up. So the data just isn't there, which means that companies need to start generating the data now. And that takes time. So start with that immediately. So in-house labs, I would say you need to continue as you were planning anyway, because you need to make all these technical files for your IVDs, for example.
Yeah.
So it's basically I would say it's still all hands on deck, because you need a plan B, which is basically the plan B is proposal doesn't make it, and then we're back to the old timelines. So, and in the best scenario, you would need to find a way to make sure that your certification as IVDR certified device lands before the end of your block in the as a legacy device. And of course, then there are pure class A IVDs which need to comply by 26 May immediately.
So self-certified, so there is no need of notified body. So it means that you have less hurdle, if I can say, to prepare documentation to be on the market. You still need to be compliant, so don't mess up with that. But you have to be ready by the 26th of May 2021. So as you said, also a lot of those products never went through an assessment also from a notified body, so it will be a first time for employees. So there is a lot of first time for those companies that will happen. So be prepared. Work with professionals that can help you for that, because mainly it will be a long journey, and you will discover that this is not really an easy one sometime.
Like a first contact with aliens, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's something Martin Witte also said on one of your podcasts, that the most problems they see actually is with manufacturers that get their submission wrong from the start because they don't have enough experience with notified bodies. So it's important for these IVD people.
So you can hire me. I will do a full, if I can say, notified body audit with you. It will be like, I call that like police interrogatory. So you are in the room, I will put the light on you and you will have to answer questions. Sometimes it looks really like that. When you are in front of some auditors, it looks really like that, and you can be surprised. So be prepared for that and prepare your team, because it's really a game to play, if I can say. So you have really to understand the rules and how it is working. Just a reminder, Erik, you have still your book now, but you told me that you will have a second edition because of this proposal now.
Yeah, I'm. The book came out just around the date of application of the MDR. So already then I started, and it is current as to beginning of April 2021. So a lot happened since then. So I'm working like crazy now to update everything in a second edition, which is going to come out towards the end of first quarter next year.
Okay,
that's the current planning, and there will also be a lot more detail on the IVDR in there, and also all the updates on the MDR. This proposal will be discussed. But for example, the book already has a discussion on IVDR classification, so that's already in there. So and a lot of other IVDR materials. So it's still a good investment even at this point.
So don't hesitate. Go to the show notes. I will place all the information there for Erik and the book, etc. Erik, you will send me this PDF with the timeline that this piece of art, as I said, maybe it will cost millions in future. So we can already have that for people so that they can look at it. I hope this will be really helping everyone, because mainly this is a difficult situation. Information are coming. There is a lot of changes that are ongoing. We don't know what will happen in the future. So don't look at this proposal like it's a deal done. There will maybe be some changes. At the end, it's a good news also. So let's a bit celebrate that it's a good news that this happened for IVD manufacturers, because we knew from the beginning that there was already a lot of problems for them to be compliant and to be ready for that. And I suppose, now the EU Commission, as you said, stopped to put their fingers on their ears, and now they are listening to us. A last word, Erik?
Sorry?
No, I said the last word.
Last word, don't use the word delay for this, because it's not a delay. It's really, even if you are a legacy device, as we've discussed, you have homework, because you already need to implement all these quality management systems requirements for the MDR, and even economic operators is something that you need to engage with. I've written in my initial blog on analysis of this proposal what the influence also is on economic operators. So it means that basically, as of the date of application, your distributors, even if you are a legacy device, may already need to follow the IVDR rules for distributors and importers. And that's a lot of work. That's also something companies may need to have completed before May 26. So that's something else that they need to look at. So don't think it's delay. It's partial deference of specific criteria. That's how you should look at it.
So I will also put on the show notes Erik's blog on this, on the IVDR postponement, so that they can have a better, more details and some links of all the elements, which will help you, I hope, for that. Because there is many other maybe things that are hidden behind that. So don't look at the big picture. Really try to look at the details, because because mainly there is a lot of things that can be specific for you and some other that are not specific at all for you. So okay, Erik. So really thank you for that. I hope really that this will help a lot of people. And we'll prepare this episode about in-house, how you call that, in-house produced devices, so that we can also explain for hospitals that maybe are listening to this podcast how they should be compliant for the IVDR on that. Okay, Erik. So wish you a nice day and talk to you soon then.
Take care. Bye-bye.